Hi, good morning. Here we are again. So I thought that I would spend this month doing videos each day in my scruffy state, because I like being scruffy, looking after your spine. So isn't it, it's October, isn't it? So everybody's like doing this Stoptober thing about stop drinking, just looking after your liver, which is a great thing, looking after your guts, looking after your inside. But I'm going to spend this month doing little videos and looking after your bones and looking after the structure of you. Most of it will be done sitting in a chair. So today you're going to sit at the front of your chair, right at the very edge of your chair. Not so you're going to fall off, but you can notice where your bones of the pelvis are, the base of your pelvis, your sit bones, which are called your ischial tuberosities. Oh, that's a great name. So your feet are going to be firmly planted on the floor, so it's better done without your shoes on. You can do this anywhere, in your kitchen, in your dining room, in your office, in front of your computer. Take your shoes off, and if you can, take your socks off so your feet can actually feel the texture of what they are actually touching. So have your hands resting on your thighs. Have your hands resting on your hands. Have your hands resting on your thighs, and notice what your sit bones actually feel like. Can you notice your right sit bone more than your left sit bone, or your left sit bone more than your right sit bone? Or do they feel the same? Interesting. And most of us just sit and we don't notice how we're sitting. So can you roll? Imagine your sit bones are like wheels of a car. And can you roll to the back of your sit bones as if you're rolling to the back of the wheels, and then roll to the front of your sit bones? And you'll notice as you're doing that, the rest of you moves, yes? So if you're looking straight ahead of you, imagine you're looking towards the horizon, and you'll notice that as you roll towards the back of your sit bones, your eyes will kind of dip a little bit because you're coming down, and as you roll forward, you'll notice that your eyes will lift towards the top of the horizon, above the horizon. And that's all you're doing today, is rolling forwards and backwards, because we're going to spend the whole month, so don't rush it. And there's different ways you can imagine what you're doing. So you can imagine that you've got the wheels happening here, going forwards and backwards. This horizon you can use as a gauge to see how you're moving. You could imagine the middle of your spine. So think about where your breastbone is, or your sternum. Behind that, that's going towards the back of the chair. So it's got a magnet on it, and it's pulling your chest bone backwards between your shoulder blades. And then something is pulling you forwards. It's other little images we come up with that we'll do throughout the rest of the month. Now, how are you breathing as you do this? Not just the end of it, just rolling forwards and backwards, but how do you breathe? Are you breathing out when you roll back, or are you breathing in? What feels better for you? What feels more natural? For me, it's more of a breathing out as I roll back and a breathing in as I come back up. And could you slow that breath down? Now you might want to change it around a little bit. So as I knock my little thing out my ear, I hate these things, but anyway, maybe breathing in as I roll back, it will feel different. And breathing out as I come back up, it will feel different. So notice the difference in your breath, because when you're doing this during the day, if you've had a little break from what you're doing when you're sitting at your screen or watching the telly or reading a book or whatever it is you're doing, sitting, eating your food at the table, you won't be thinking about how you're breathing if you move your pelvis. When you're walking down the street, you won't be thinking about how you're breathing when you move your pelvis, because breathing, thankfully, is an involuntary thing. Because you breathe thousands of times a day. So if you had to think about every breath, you wouldn't have time to do anything else. So play around with that movement of rolling forwards and backwards. It's part of the base of what we'll be doing through the whole of this month. Think of the pelvis as the most important center of you, and where the movement all comes from. And it all comes from here, inside your head and your brain. Part of your brain that controls what your muscles do, because they don't work on their own, because they'd be having party time and doing any crazy kind of things. But think about the center of your pelvis, and that's where the start of your spine is, what's going on, how it controls movement in your neck, your shoulders and your legs. Happy practicing.